We all forget things sometimes. It can even be funny up to a point. But memory loss is often serious, and in the case of one rare form of memory loss, amnesia, sudden. Our cover story this morning is reported by Susan Spencer of 48 Hours.
One September day in 2001, a 33-year-old Texas woman got in her car to go to work. And the next thing she knew...
There's a freeway here in Dallas. I began driving up the freeway, and I got up to Denton, and that's the last thing I remember.
The woman who asked us to conceal her identity and whom we'll call Emily says she had no idea why she was where she was.
It was about 3:30 in the morning when I realized I was in just outside Santa Fe, New Mexico.
The drive from Dallas to Santa Fe is about 600 miles. It takes 10 hours, and yet Emily had no memory of it. Exhausted in an unknown city without friends or family, she checked into a motel, and things just got worse.
When I woke up the next morning, I sat up and I didn't recognize the room. I didn't recognize the bag that was sitting on the chair or the clothes that were laying over the chair, and I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. I didn't know my name.
And what goes through your mind?
Fear. A lot of fear. And,
she searched in vain for any identification. What was the last thing you did remember?
Nothing.
Nothing at all. So you had no past when you woke up in that motel?
Mm-mm.
The definition of amnesia is really just what it says. You're unable to recall important personal information.
Psychiatrist Colin Ross diagnosed Emily with amnesia and says that although her form of amnesia is very rare, he has seen a few similar cases.
So it's not just I can't remember where I put my pen last week. It's got to be something major like I don't remember my address, or I don't remember my name, or I don't remember my spouse.
The amnesiac hero has long been a Hollywood staple. Alfred Hitchcock put Gregory Peck through agony in the 1945 thriller Spellbound.
I have no memory. It's like looking into a mirror and seeing nothing but the mirror.
In the film Memento, a character with no short-term memory tries to solve a murder.
Okay, so what am I doing? Oh, I'm chasing this guy. No, he's chasing me.
I can't remember anything that happened before 2 weeks ago.
And as Jason Bourne, Matt Damon has spent 3 movies trying to figure out who he is.
I don't know who I am. I don't know where I'm going. None of it.
But in real life, the loss of memory is not an entertaining experience.
Everybody describes it as very strange, scary, anxiety-provoking, disturbing, and just hard to put your finger on exactly what it feels like.
To really wrap your brain around amnesia, there's probably no better place to come than here at the Brain Observatory, part of the University of California Medical School in San Diego. It houses a growing collection of brains like this one and is ground zero for the study of how memory is made and how it's lost.
When we think of memory loss, mostly we're talking about the loss of declarative memory. That's our memory for facts and events of a passing day.
Larry Squire, a professor of neuroscience and psychology at UC San Diego School of Medicine, collaborates with the Brain Observatory on amnesia cases. And he's written about the most unforgettable amnesiac of all, Henry Mollison, or HM, who died last year at the age of 82.
HM had a memory impairment that affected his ability to acquire essentially any new information as the days went by. So in other words, if one introduced oneself to him and walked out of the room 5 minutes later, one would have to reintroduce oneself.
Unable to retain the most basic information, HM spent much of his adult life in a nursing home, an ongoing study for scientists eager to learn from his bizarre condition. The cause of HM's memory loss was known, a surgical lesion, as seen on this 3D model of his brain. In 1953, when he was 27, he had agreed to an experimental operation to relieve severe seizures.
This was very deep inside his brain, yes.
Neuroanatomist Jacopo Anisi says doctors back then thought they understood the risks.
They were able to go from the front, lift up the frontal lobes, and and do what they needed to do.
But they had no idea what else they were doing.
Definitely the seizures got better.
But at what a cost, huh?
I'm not the one to judge whether his life was better with the seizures or better without the ability to make memories.
But H.M. did somehow understand that his experience could help unravel the mystery of memory, and he left his brain to science. It's ended up here at the Brain Observatory after a cross-country trip with Anisi.
We carried it in a chamber like this, and
scientists are doing dry runs on other brains to prepare for the dissection of H.M.'s later this summer, hoping to pinpoint exactly where and how the brain stores memory.
I will build a relationship with him as I sit for 30 hours slicing the brain. Because
in contrast with H.M., whose MRI shows physical damage, Emily's brain scan was normal, like this one, revealing no obvious cause of her amnesia. And yet she had lost her identity. When police found her family, she couldn't even recognize her own children. Dr. Ross says her uncommon form of amnesia is called dissociative fugue.
You have this total amnesia for your past, and it's combined with travel away from home. All your basic skills are intact. It's just the personal autobiographical memory that's blocked out.
The Diagnostic Manual for Mental Health says dissociative fugue can last for hours or even months and affects only about 0.2% of the population.
Probably people have been going into fugues for tens of thousands of years. The biggest peak in fugue cases was really in the Second World War. A lot of military psychiatrists report groups of cases where cross enemy lines in a dangerous situation. A soldier would be wandering around in a daze, not knowing who he was.
A patient will wake up one day lost. They'll have no difficulty in acquiring new information from that point on, but they've lost a great deal of their past.
But neurologist Robert Burton has his doubts. He says it's implausible that someone could forget his entire identity and still remember enough to function in society.
It isn't realistic that you can have this loss of all of your past and still have brain function sufficient that you can carry on in the present.
So what's going on with amnesiacs like Emily?
I can't answer that question. In a way, it may not be different than believing in flying saucers. If people believe in flying saucers really believe in it. I mean, they're not making it up. They believe it.
And he says there may be an advantage to the person to believe it.
Well, the upside is they can start over to some degree. They can walk away from what is ailing them, so to speak, in terms of their psyche.
As it turns out, Emily had reasons to walk away from her life: a suicidal, drug-addicted husband, an unplanned newborn baby, a stressful job. I know when people see this, there's going to be questions about, well, you know, did she just do this on purpose?
I had 3 children at home. They were totally dependent on me. And I don't think I could live without them.
But this was not something over which you had any control whatsoever. It took Emily more than a year to recover her memory. Her painful drive into the unknown has left her with a clear appreciation. Memory is not just where we left the keys, it's the very essence of who we are.
You know, I lost 33 years, and I had to slowly regain that back, and it is precious to me, and I've done as much as I can and everything I can to build on that.